everyone. I'm putting this quick intro in because our next guest, Patrick Fraley, was so interesting that I literally forgot to hit record. So we're joining midstream. You didn't miss much. You only missed a few minutes. But ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Fraley and our wonderful studio audience. Continue as you were saying. Attention.
Well, I was saying, even at Cornell, if I would have asked, yes, that's good, I got the skills, I know that, but how do I get attention? I would have been kicked out. I was always told make strong, committed, or bold choices. That was it. But I'll tell you, you got to get attention in the first seconds on the slate. You know, if you're going to be Commander Zorg, it's not good enough to go, Pat Fraley, Commander Zorg, and start acting. It's the moment you start. That's why I teach one of the tricks of slating is to morph. You go, Patrick Fraley, Commander Zorg. So I've slid from Pat to a character who is playing to intimidate Danny. Pat Fraley, yes, Commander Zorg. Not Pat Fraley, it's Commander Zorg. No.
Is that about energy? Is that about your energy? Because it's like you channel energy, though. It's like
energy is an ambiguous term.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anybody that's low energy.
Really?
That works in theater. Movie acting can be, and I'm talking about, movie acting, can be low energy because, as they say, the camera sees everything. That's what shocks other actors, saying, well, when I work with him, I didn't think anything was going on, but then I saw him and wow. But, to make things simple, Danny, because acting is another ambiguous term, like training or getting attention or whatever. There's two aspects to acting. Mm-hmm. One is the choices you take or do to realize the author's intent, what they've written. And that is called a skill set or my toolbox or choices.
Right.
The second is how you personally behave. That's what the method's all about. For example, I'll give you an example because I love examples. People don't give enough. Say I'm playing a 200-pound Scottish duck with a lisp. So I'm this guy. So it's not really Scottish. Otherwise, you wouldn't understand me. So I'm doing an upcountry, really. I'm doing Manchester, but I'm doing it sounds Scottish to an American. So you're delighted by that, aren't you? You're laughing and everything. But if I say, don't you tell me what to do, Missy. If you scrape off all the choices to realize the author's intent, you get, don't you tell me what to say, mister. Or don't you tell me what to say, Missy. It's Pat Fraley, the way I admonish you.
Yeah, except I'm married to a Glaswegian, so that's where I'm laughing.
There's only two aspects to act. Yes. And of course, I fully realized how I was lacking in skills. But hey, when you get right down to it, after the skills, it's really behaving. And acting gets a lot of press for believable or playing the action or whatever your method is. But it's a combo of the two. Because if you just give the choice, if I'm just a Scottish duck and I'm doing this show, you're interested, but you don't get anywhere.
I love that you said that. Wait, I don't want to cut you off, but this is so important to point out because I've had so many conversations with narrators that feel less than because they don't have classical acting training. And they see everyone and they think they're being judged because they don't have that. I keep having this conversation, having had that training, going, but you're getting continuing training, you're getting coaching, you're practicing, you're a working narrator in this booth 24 hours a day. You've got it. But there's this like image they have that the rules, they weren't given the proper rules and everyone can see that. They don't have their degree.
Well, let me give an example. Okay. Now, I work a lot about the last 10 years with a formidable audiobook narrator, probably the best in the world in the English language, Scott Brick.
We had him on a call. Everyone loves Scott.
Sure.
And we actually have a Scott question coming up after this, so don't let me forget it from Suzanne.
Good.
So.
Well, he has to hide a lot of his classical training. Oh, he's got it in diaphragm, but a lot of it is about projection. Well, my neighbor and a mentor who died recently was Ed Asner, a formidable American character actor. And I was talking to him, I was reading a script, and he goes, "Hey, you're talking too good. You're talking too good." He put his giant meat puppet hand in front of my face. I went, "What?" And he launched into Murder in a Cathedral by T.S. Eliot with a beautiful voice and perfect diction. And he said, "Yeah, see, anybody can do that. Talk like people talk." And so the simplicity is, and Scott knows this better than anyone, you have to connect with the audience or a person, because other than that, you're sunk. And it's just it's the Christmas pantomime, which you're familiar with being in England.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It really is fluff. So that's important to do. Now, as far as coaching, again, I'll quote Ed Asner. He said he worked with everybody: Henry Hathaway, the director, Howard Hawks, June Allison, all these actors. I said, William Shatner. I said, "How were they?" "Oh, they were horrible, horrible, but they got better." And I said, "You always say they got better." And he goes, "Well, of course they worked." Well, you do get better if you pay attention to your working, but that's kind of an anomaly. And again, I'll mention Scott. You have a question about Scott Breck?
Yes, and that leads us right into it. It's perfect timing. Susanna Elise Freeman was wondering, can you describe your style of direction? I heard you recently directed Scott Breck on a recording of The Great Gatsby. Can you share any direction you offered him in the studio while working? Oh yes, give us cheaters, spoilers.
Yeah. I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that made Scott Breck laugh. And by the way, I got to say hi to Anna Maria Peloso. Hello, Anna Marie.
Thank you for getting me, Patrick. Anna Marie.
I'm so glad.
I'm grateful to be here. Now, Scott lives really down the street from me. We live in the same neighborhood. We have breakfast together, all this stuff. But COVID comes, and so we're online and Zooming, and I'm directing him. Well, I had, at one point he did something, and we had a meeting and figured out, okay, who's who in the zoo, what's going on. So he's performing, and again, I'll tell you, he's formidable. He's wonderful. And
it's good you said that, because I just got a note saying it said Suzanne asked that question, but it's really Scott.
Yes, Suzanne is there a lead? Yes. I said to Scott after he finished, I said, "Do it better." I mean, it's the worst comment a director can do, but I gotta tell you, he laughed his head off because it's so simple. And a good director, and I've worked with Stephen Frears and Peter Weir and these wonderful directors, and really they're simple. You know, it's simple and straightforward, and that's the way I kind of direct. And I've had a lot of experience with good directors, but that's the important part. And what I lack is less words. I talk too much. So does Scott. We're talkers. We're Irish. We can't write, but we can talk forever.
I think I like people that talk. I think what's the point of being put on this earth? We should talk as much as we possibly can while we still can.
Well, that's why I do a lot of demonstrations. So does Scott. Don't tell me about it. Show me.
Yeah. So by you keeping it simple, you're kind of, because the thing I was surprised about when I started narrating was thinking I'm a great actress. I connect with, I kind of was full of myself in that respect. What I didn't know was that my brain would get in the way, like all this crap getting in the way while you're trying to just do your thing. And by keeping it simple and saying, do it better, you're automatically pulling him back, aren't you, into...
Well, I'm not pulling him back. What I'm saying to him is, besides just do it better. For Scott, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I do know that one of the important parts is your brain should never be in the way, because there's no such thing as overthinking. There's overperforming, but there's not overthinking. So you're thinking, think, but then you have to put the rubber on the road. You have to do it. But I think the important thing is to understand that you're the one they bring to the party. After all, the only reason we know how to pronounce Zellweger or Malkovich is because they're so good and were from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all of them. It's the way they think. We like that. And audiences like that.
Yeah, when somebody's doing, I don't know, have you ever seen the show Killing Eve?
Don't know. I don't think so.
You should see it. There's this girl on it. She's English, but she plays a Russian assassin or something. But you know when you see somebody and I watched her, I love her, everything she does. But
what's her name?
I'm horrible with names. If anyone knows, type it in there.
Get better, honey.
I know I'm really bad remembering names. She's amazing. And she can, Jodie Connor, I'll find out. But Jodie Comer, she made a minuscule movement.
Jodie Comer, Comer.
Yes.
Stephanie told me that.
She's amazing. But what it was I watched her one day and a minuscule movement in her face, minuscule, and the entire everything changed. It told you everything she was thinking and doing in the character with just that tiny, and I'd love to be able to do that with voice. I remember watching it.
I'll tell you what, Danny, she's probably not aware of it. There are few that do little tricks that are technique and skills, part of that whole thing about the choices, and they're aware of them, they do, and that'll change it. Like, watch my face. I'm going to go from happy, and someone says, yeah, but you're missing your front tooth, or you got spinach there or something, okay? So what you do, Danny, you say, you have some spinach in your teeth, and I'll start happy, right? And watch my face.
You have some spinach in your teeth.
You see it? Now that's a technique of going from happy to, oh no.
Yeah, so that's...
Right? Yeah, but that's not it.
But hers was so subtle.
Whatever process we have of acting,
right,
it comes from the inside, and someone says something and you get hurt. And you behave, whether you have actions or lines or not, as you behave.
So you can do that narrating. You can do that. And if that's coming from the inside, you can do that narrating. Change that much, but subtly. Change what you're doing subtly, but have that much of an impact on the person listening. That to me is like, wow.
From within. And again, I mentioned Scott, but I just know him so well. When he has a scary book to do, he watches scary movies and records at night. So he literally is available to be scared. It's not about technique and sounding, quavering, and doing that. Some people do, some, but not many. One was Charles Lawton. Now watch my eyes. He did something when he did Henry VIII in some movie. Now watch my eyes. I'm talking to you, right? And I'm talking British and bad British. And so watch my eyes. Now I close them and I do that and I keep talking. You see what I did? What I did was I closed my eyes, I turned them and looked at something and went back to you. That's a technique of showing insecurity. But what I go for is just being insecure. So it comes from within. Because I can't think of, I can't
remember the technique at the time I need it.
Yes, exactly. So why bother? Yeah, once in a while, but not really. It's just, it comes from within, and audiences are delighted with that. And they don't know where it comes from. So like you and like I go, what's that technique? It's so good. She just blinked once and it changed everything. No, well, Jodie, I think it probably comes from within. And if she's English,
rewatch it and try to figure it out.
If she's English, she won't talk about it. The only reason actors know, method and stuff, so we talk so much. We blah, blah, blah about method. But the English traditionally don't reveal, and a lot of people, like, who's the wonderful actor that, Ian Whipkin, the guy that did the Wizard and Gandalf. What's that actor? Wonderful older actor, English.
Guys, you got to get my back here. I don't know names. Somebody will post it.
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
He says, well, to tell you the truth, I just pretend. Well, how many actors do that? We do that. We pretend we're other people.
Over here, saying that the director was Greek. He wasn't English. But over here, it was the most horrifying thing I'd ever had. I took over a part at the last minute. It was a lead with a lot of lines, and I fractured my arm the next day. So I had like a week to learn it. I'm on stage, terrified. I don't know I couldn't retain the lines. And he had me go up and he said, act the argument. The entire time, everyone else knew their lines. I had to act the argument. It was the most horrifying experience. And I magically ended up learning the lines just in time for opening night. And I, for the first time in my life, I think, was performing because he'd made me learn the emotions first.
Well, the argument first. No, let me say something. A lot of good acting is doesn't get the press, and that's text analysis and getting ready. Yeah. One of the things that keep in mind, and it runs contrary to how we think we get hired, is you make a log line of the story, right? And then you play the conflict. You don't play, when you do a commercial, for example, you don't go, how many times has this happened to you? Yes, it happens, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. How many times has this happened to you? You actually ask the question. And the conflict is man seeks best burger. It ain't Ibsen, but you play the conflict. Of course, if you're doing Othello, well, the log line is important guy kills himself over delusion. Well, Iago convinces him his wife's cheating on him and he goes nuts. Well, everything feeds that. Everything. Yeah. And it's important to play conflict and not be afraid of it, because we're afraid of conflict because we're actors. We want everybody to love us and get along. No, you play the conflict in every genre, whether it's voiceover, commercials, narration, everything.
That's all acting. It drives me crazy when narrators focus on the business, just the business and the marketing and the tech, and which is all important. It's all part of it, but they completely leave out the acting, and they will say, "Oh, I'm not an actor." You are an actor. You might not want to.
Well, you always acting is central. And hey, the thing about it is, let me think about this. If you're good, you will work. You will seek work and you will work. If you're excellent, you'll be sought after. That's fundamental to marketing. You're that good, they won't. Get me somebody like Danny. Yeah, I need Danny. You don't hear from you 150 times. Go, okay, we'll hire her. That happens, but how much easier it is to go, oh, you're so good. We wanted you. And that's
like having a fight. That's the only very recently I figured this out, because everyone's talking about you don't want to give publishers any reason not. Somebody had a disability and a coach had told them, don't tell anyone you have this disability because it'll cost you work. And she was like, I'm going to tell everyone. I'm not ashamed of this. There's nothing wrong with it. And another coach said, you don't want to give publishers any reason not to hire you. And my immediate thought was what you're saying right there. Don't we all want to be such a talent that they want you, that you're so good that you can develop the goods? I think, isn't it the other way around? Everyone wants the work from the publishers first, and then they'll be that good. But don't you have to be that good first? and then they'll want you.
Well, let me approach this way. First of all, let me say hello to Claudia. Hi, Claudia. And Scott, Sonny Boy.
You know more about who's there than...
call him Sonny. I would have to be busy at 15 to have him as a son, but we won't go there. Okay. The idea is, and it goes back to Renee Zellweger. Why does she work? Well, she was interesting to begin with. Or even John Malkovich. He was interesting to begin with. Oh, he got better and better and better. But I will say that. I'll also say you get better as you learn, either a training or coaching or whatever you want to call it, later on, and work. I mean, Scott Brick, you know, I'm a big fan. I'll tell you, I wouldn't tell you a long story. I'll tell you a story later about Scott, but the short of it, we were in Chicago. I rented a place. He was down the way. I stayed. He went out with a girlfriend, came back, and he went toward the kitchen. My room was toward the kitchen, and he went close to the door, and he thought, wait, is that me? And he opened the door or went close to it, and I was listening to one of his recordings, which has got to be creepy. Really creepy for him, but I've listened to everything, and I'm telling you, he's gotten so good over the years that when he did a series of Raymond Chandler books, and he's a mystery writer, right? The Big Sleep, Farewell, My Lovely, all these books. He did them all, and I listened to them all, and he either pointed it out to me or I understood it. Usually, I think he pointed it out to me, that as he did the books written by Raymond Chandler later on about Philip Marlowe, he did it slower and a little older. Why? Because the author was older. Now, come on. That is so cool. You don't get that from the get-go. He was happy to get a job to begin with, and delighted to.
What you said about Renee Zellweger, I didn't know, because I didn't know, Scott, you might want to plug your ears if you get easily embarrassed. I didn't know Scott Brick, right? Before we had the Cup of Joe call, just like I didn't know you before we had the call. I knew who he was. Everyone knows who Scott is. And Johnny Heller had said Scott would be a great guest. And I think there's nobody in the world I think is cooler than Johnny Heller and Joanna Perrin. I'm like their stalker, basically. So I had Scott on the call. And it's instantly obvious. It's what you said about Renee and John Malcolm. They're what a human being. Instantly, well, you know,
he has a unique skill in so much as that he's really good, but he also can talk about it. Those are two different skills, and he has both. Being a teacher and a performer.
You don't think it's just charisma, straight charisma?
Once in a while, you get somebody with both skills. Very rarely, and I'm talking about everybody.
But what about okay, I love these words, and I know they're a bit cheesy, but I do believe in them because I grew up in Italy surrounded by like directors and crazy characters, and there were always the people that were larger than life. The star quality, the je ne sais quoi, the people you never forget. They have that extra something. Even kids are like attracted to them. And what is that?
All right. Well, I don't know what that is, but Scott Brick is the most boring person on the planet.
He's not. He's amazing.
Oh, no, you know what? I've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner with that guy. He is so boring. I mean, I love him because he talks stories about, oh, did you know that 1914? Most people would go to sleep, but I love it.
He was very interesting for an hour-long call.
He's not a big guy. He's not a big, like we love, these giant people that have interesting characters. Frank, I'm trying to think of his name now. I've forgotten. In Australia, Frank Thring. Frank Thring was kind of prognathous, and he talked like that. He played Pontius Pilate and Ben-Hur. He was huge. My neighbor, Philip Rhodes, was Marlon Brando's makeup man. And one day after he had a stroke or something, he was walking along with a cane. And I pulled over the car and rolled down the window. And I said, Philip, because he wouldn't talk to me for 2 or 3 years. He's, a snob. And I said, how you doing? How are there silver streaks? And he said to me, gold. I mean, this guy was out to lunch, but a brilliant guy. Now, that's just a sideline a talk, but Scott Brick's not big. It is not about big. It's about being a good actor and being a good teacher, and very few people are both.
I have this just feeling that some people are born with an energy about them that attracts other people. And well, I think you have it. I think Scott has it. I think Johnny Heller has it.
Well, it's not about being big. It's about having a skill. And what I would generally say as a teacher to you, Danny, think that's good. Now, forget it. It doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
The important part is being more raw. When I hear Scott, gosh, it's all about Scott, Sonny Boy. When I hear him break down and he's crying, or he falls in love, this is really perverse. When he has a girlfriend, I really love the girl. And I go, what are you doing? It's Sonny Boy. No, he just has the ability of getting raw when he's recording. He's more comfortable in the studio than in real life. He's more comfortable. And that I don't know what that is, but, because, if you put on a microphone with me, oh, you're throwing Brer Rabbit in the briar bushes. I am so relaxed and great. But if you turn on a camera or with Scott, oh my goodness. It's like, really? And people go, no, I'll give an example. I did an on-camera audition it was like on the internet or something. And I was dressed in a tie, I wear blazer, pants, tennis shoes, and no socks. Now, I said I was really nervous. And then, well, what? You didn't wear socks? And I said, the reason why I didn't wear socks is so I could look down every so often and go, how can you be so nervous? You're not wearing socks.
See, you get nervous. You see, I don't get nervous. I've never been nervous in my life. I can talk in front of millions. And I had somebody tell me when I was acting that that's a sign of a bad actress. That if you don't get nervous before you go on.
No,
I don't get nervous.
Listen,
never.
Robert De Niro is a nerve-wracked man.
Is he?
When he is on set, and my son has been his assistant, he goes out and plays catch. Why? Because if he hangs on actors, it gets nervous. To the point, and he doesn't deny it, to the point where when he was given money at casino, I think it was, and he's supposed to count it, or no, wait, it was Wise Guys, the Goodfellas. And he's given money to Ray Liotta, the actor, playing Henry. He stopped and goes, can I have real money? Because this feels fake. He's really careful about it. Because when they gave him real money and they stood there and got it back. But
okay, so this is a good time because this actually, all the questions are the perfect timing. Kendra wants to know, do you have any suggestions for maintaining the emotional availability / vulnerability with the narration while battling performance anxiety in front of a director or coach?
Well, first of all, Kendra, I know. That's good. It's a good question. First of all, the good news is you rarely get a good director in audiobooks, and you rarely get a good director anywhere in voiceover. They're usually bad, or they're copywriters. They're trying to be directors. The trick is to get a bad note and try not to do it, but look like you did. So it's all up to you. The bad news is that it's up to you, dude. It's not up to somebody else. But so that's the way I deal with it. And I asked Asner once, how many good directors have you had, or people? And he went, 5. I mean, out of what? 50, 100. And he said, they knew what I was up against. And I said, how many actors made you really good? And he goes, well, Danny Trevani, which I could expect from Hill Street Blues, very good actor. Yeah. And he said, Will Ferrell. And I went, Will Ferrell? That made you better?
Wait, isn't he the guy that did that thing about the elf or something?
Yeah, yeah. Ed played Santa, the best Santa ever. And Will was an elf. And he said, well, we started with a scene where Will Ferrell says, I know you. right? He points at Santa and says, "I know you," or something like that. So you recall that?
I should
watch don't that. Even say it. Okay, so everybody else has in the world. Well, he did. When I saw his commitment level, when he said, he didn't say commitment level. When I saw him look at me and say, "I know you," I said, "You better get really good fast." Because it was so connected. And as Al Pacino says, nothing outweighs passion. Nothing.
These
no skill set, no connection.
Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. These are like the gods to me. I mean,
me too. And the generation before me, and I got to work with Dustin Hoffman. And they really focused on reality and acting and behaving. When in fact, I was of an era where we really focused on physicality. We never heard, it was good, but I didn't believe you. We never heard that.
Yeah, it was like, if
you can juggle, you can act.
I'm bad with the physicality. I'm bad at it. I'm not bad at it. I'm so self-conscious. That's why I never made it in theater as much as I should, because I always brought my body with me. But in narrating, I'm free.
Well, good. See, that's a good thing. Because it is all words.
What do you find when you teach narrators? What do you find is the most common struggle, or the thing you wish you could get across to them that you don't sometimes think they're understanding?
Thinking and feeling, which create pauses. Scott and I both have this. They go too fast and they don't pause. Well, pauses, there's two factors about pauses. One is, as I'm talking to you, I take natural pauses because people do, right? That's one way. The other way is a pause for for a way of emphasizing. Like if I say, "Don't go that way, go this way," getting louder. I go, "Don't go that way, go this way." I get louder on this, right? But if I pause, I go, "Don't go that way, go this way." That's a way of using a pause for emphasis. So there's two factors, but we both find that people don't think. And e-learning is the really toughest genre to teach because it is thinking. You're not an actor anymore. You're just a teacher. And you have to have a means of emphasis. Now, Scott has several. There's 8 means of emphasis. He has about 4. George Goodall only uses pauses. He doesn't get louder on anything. And it I like it, but it annoys me a little. But if you have 4, hey, you're fine. You're fine. You can give up. But a book is a long thing. It's the longest genre we have.
Yeah.
5 hours. I mean, what's the
9-10 hours?
Eugene O'Neill did a play they had a dinner break. Not Morning Becomes Electra, but another title, and that was long. That's nothing. I mean,
Long Day's Journey.
Long Day's Journey. But the book of that I'm coming up. What was the book that Sonny did that was so long?
Someone here will know. They make me look smart.
Sonny will write it up.
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged was 75 hours, Scott, something like that.
62. Oh my God.
62, and he had to redo a bunch of them too. But come on, 62, get out of here. It's like a whole different. And let me tell you, we can get away with going. Yesterday, I went downtown, and that's only getting louder for a 28-second commercial. But hey, you get into the third, minute or 3 hours, and you go, really? It's fatiguing.
Yeah.
So you talk about classical training. I got that, at Cornell, but I didn't know about emphasis. But there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie. I actually told a writer recently that perhaps she might look for a different narrator. Because I said that if you want someone that's going to do their best to bring your characters to life and completely lose themselves and play every single character and like get into the story, and then I'm your girl. If you want someone that's going to analyze every sentence and do a lot of the marking up and everything and know technically what the right this and that is, I'm not your girl. So I'm very aware of my weakness. I'm the girl that rocks up for the test and gets a really good grade, but didn't even look at the homework. I do my markup, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not Miss Detail, but I know my characters and I'm not afraid. But I think I tried really hard to be the other kind of person.
Well, you know, at a certain point, you have to give up and say, God made me this way.
Yeah.
I can't be that other person. But it sounds like many performers are the king of uncasting. That's why you hear so many stories about it. They go, don't get me, you want somebody else. I could do that on any job I've ever got in my life. But I'm me.
Yeah.
And if you go back to acting being central, playing the conflict, and two aspects of acting, the skill set or choices to realize the author's intent. And that's where you mark up a script. What did the author intend me to do? And then you get to, all right, I've got the skill set. Now, how do I behave in a way or perform these characters or this narrator or both in a way that realizes it and is good acting? That's it.
I love that.
But you don't want to be on stage or in a booth thinking. No, you're done thinking. That's why a good director in audiobooks, by the way, what's her name? Christy. She's a really good director. And here again, I'm going to ask for Scott, Chris, and he's had her several times. She's so good.
Christina
Rooney. Yeah. She has a big meeting with the actor beforehand. And I did that with Scott. Before Great Gatsby, we realized watching all the movies, because we got better, by the way, watching movies.
Yeah.
Creating a soundtrack like a movie. Okay, so we decided, Scott and I, that it was the great Nick Carraway, because he's the only character in the entire book of The Great Gatsby that changes, including Gatsby.
Yeah.
And a protagonist changes.
Yeah.
And so once we got that concept, that it's all about his perception of the world and why he's delighted with it, and then he hates it at the end. And he doesn't like Gatsby, but falls in love with this man. He loves him at the end. Why? He changes. And that's a good meeting up front is huge. Because then it's all skill set. Realizing what you think the author had in mind. Fitzgerald had in mind, here's a man that's changed in society.
Christopher Mayer said on our last call, and I just thought, I don't know if I want to open that can of worms, but he meets with every one of his writers before he does their book and has the feedback and because I do a very intensive welcome pack and I email and everything, but as narrators, we're always afraid of the writer that doesn't understand that they're not going to direct you through the whole process, and they give you line readings after you've recorded, or like you get.
Well, so a line reading is because they heard it so vividly in their mind. Yeah. What you have to get rid of as a writer is there are a lot of ways of skinning a cat.
Yeah.
And yours isn't the best way. It's one way, but it's not the best.
There's a little relinquishing control when you hand your baby over to a narrator.
Totally, because look we're not like dried corn, where you put water on us and we taste a little bit like real corn. No, there's some voodoo hoodoo, Danny. When we get a script and we perform it, there's something we add or bring to the party that's beyond dehydrated corn. Otherwise, I do believe that acting is a service craft and writing is the art. But when you start to ad lib or go a little further,
you don't want to change what You don't want
well, it depends on what you have, but certainly not a book. But when you have, oh, I see you're standing there in a book, you know, like I go, oh, I see you standing there, rather than, oh, I see you, right? It's taking it off the page. Well, it gets a little artsy there. It gets a little artsy, but it's craft service. And the writer has to let go of that because, you know.
I did the book in the end. I did the book and the writer was, well, they said they were madly in love. So it turned out well. But yeah, I did the book in the end. Yep. But I am a little bit obnoxious in the beginning, warning them.
Yeah, I did Huck Finn, and I was 2.5 months in the studio.
Wow.
I literally, I didn't tell a publisher. They would have been shocked. I had a director too, partly because I'm dyslexic, but also partly because I had 93 characters and 34 dialects, and I knew this would be my best work ever if I did it right. And I had to understand 19th century talkie, you know, and it's difficult, but I'm glad you did the book because nobody else can do the book the way you do if you bring yourself to the party.
Yeah.
And when I have a student, I don't screen them a great deal beforehand. I take them from where they are and bring them. And my job is to make someone good excellent. Because excellence, you can't, you know, they'll seek you. And that's why Scott and my students with audiobooks, they work.
That's what we all want, though. We all want to be, I don't care. You know what those ones are like? I'm just happy if I can get a couple of books. I want to be amazing. I want to be able to do a book. I had someone, I listened to a book. I tell everyone this story. It's a boring story by now because they've heard it a million times. But I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. They took care of it like 3 days later.
That's a boring story to start out with.
It's boring because they've heard it a million times. And by the time I got the diagnosis, it was anticlimactic because it was like done over the weekend. They fixed it. It was gone. But that was a long weekend. And I came home in shock, like really in shock. And I listened to an audiobook. And that book saved me. I literally remember hearing it and thinking, because I hadn't been able to see, I was almost blind by the time it happened. And I had been listening to audiobooks every night because I couldn't read. And I remember thinking, this person's voice, I forgot about a brain tumor because I was so into this like Stephen King book. Their voice pulled me away from my life, and I want to do that. I want to be that.
I listen to thousands. I mean, in my library, I have 1,000 books or more. Yeah. I'm listening right now to Larry McMurtry, who wrote Boone's Lick, and Will Patton, the actor, wonderful actor, did it, and it's marvelous, and it takes me away. And Renee, my wife, watches like They Found Her Body in the Closet. I mean, forensics. She loves all that stuff, and I'll dream about it. So I go to bed and listen for a couple of hours to a book. And I just listened to the Botany of Desire by Scott Brick. And now I'm up to Salt, which he did. Yeah. He does well in narration. And
Scott Brick and Johnny Heller, I'm sorry, are responsible for so many sleepless nights of mine because it's like I allow myself an hour before I go to bed listening to an audiobook. Like 5:30 in the morning, I'm still up. Okay, I just have to find out.
It wakes me up. It's a bad idea, but it wakes me up to listen to somebody perform. Now, it's not reading, ever. We know when someone's reading. The thinking and feeling comes in when you perform. So you perform books, I love performed books. George Goodall. I love George Goodall.
Oh, my God, yes. Okay, I have a quirky question I don't want to lose. It's a tradition on these calls, out of the kind of envelope questions. Action or horror movie? Which one would you prefer? And what's the title of your favorite movie?
Action, and my favorite movie is Dodsworth. It's a book by Upton Sinclair. It stars Walter Houston and Ruth Chatterton. It's 1936, Willie Wyler. Oh. And it really, everybody's favorite adventure movie should be Casablanca. It's the best movie ever created. Yeah. But I see Dodsworth to be plucky.
Dodsworth?
Yeah.
I might have to check that out. I've never seen it. Okay, so now let me make sure that we haven't lost any other.
By the way, I want to say thank you to Tad Davis for listening to Huckleberry Finn and being a good student.
Oh, hello, Tad. Huck, I've listened to Huck. It's brilliant. Scott says that. Pat's Huckleberry Finn is one of my favorite audiobooks of all time. I'm going to have to check that out too.
Well, don't forget my name if you do, okay?
And what's your favorite tell us your favorite funny story with your buddy Ed Asner, may he rest in peace.
The way I met him, he was my opposite across the street neighbor. So right across the street. So Renee, my wife, said, Pat, come here. And we looked out the window and they spray painted in black, killed Jews with a skull and crossbones over his door, which was red enamel. And so because Ed was out of town and the neo-Nazis did it, and they immediately called ABC, NBC, CBS, the networks to, stir it up. So I went over there with the kerosene and a rag and wiped it off. So the news vans went by and didn't see it. So the next day, this guy, I knew who he was. I'd never met him. Ed Asner came to the house and he said, are you the guy that took that off my door? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I just want to thank you very much. And I said, are you kidding me? I don't want other people to know that Jew lives in the neighborhood. And he went, and had that big belly laugh. And that connected us in a way that was inexorable for years, as friendship and as a mentor and, a dear man.
His voice, and he's like, to me, he's like Lucille Ball. Like, I grew up thinking he was like part of my family. Like, I swear I thought Lucy was my aunt. You know what I mean? Like, because when you grow up in the TV generation, there's not really that boundary. You see them every night in your home, and it's part of your family. And I think that's where the whole celebrity thing came from before it went so awfully weird.
See, the funny part was he never did anything that was comedic before Lou Grant. He was at a birthday party, and I said, what were you doing at this age? Now I think I was 41. And he goes, well, I'd had the best year of my life. The next year, nothing. I wasn't on my face, but it was on my knees. And then I got an audition for Mary Tyler Moore show. And I said, and once I asked him, what's the difference between playing it real and comedy? And he did this. It's a click. Yeah. He goes, okay, this is comedy. And I played a little different, but he wouldn't describe how he played different. He always say, I sugar nerded up when he auditioned. But it's the funny lines he has.
Yeah.
Spunk. I hate spunk. It's the line. It's Jimmy Brooks, those guys that wrote the script. It's not Ed. He just played it real.
Yeah.
That's true situation comedy, by the way. There's nothing funny about I Know You, but the way Will Ferrell played the elf pointing at Santa made it funny. And then when Ed started when we watched Will Ferrell scrape gum off the bottom of a railing, and he went, don't do that. Don't do that. And I said, what led you to the choices of being paternal and taking care of him? And he goes, I don't know. And that's the way he was. He didn't know why. He just did it.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, okay. Me too.
I love this call. I love Pat Fraley. Now I know why everyone loves Pat Fraley. So, okay. So, you don't coach, do you still teach? If someone, me were to contact you.
I have 28 home study courses, majors, which are 5 home study courses packaged. A lot of them are audiobooks. I teach with Scott Brick any audiobook where I teach UCLA with him. He teaches with me. in like once he said, you're going to direct me. Now, the cost that you get hourly is I go, hey, we're beyond money. Anyway, that's right, which is delightful. But I teach a lot. And my home study or my website is patfraley.com. And there I have like, I think 75 or some free lessons on voiceover. They go to on the menu to free, and there's, there are all these lessons they can see or listen to.
I'll add the link to this video as well. So anybody watching this video, the link
go to Pat Fraley.
below.
Now, in the contacts, there's my personal email and my personal phone number. The email is faster. And listen, oh, good, Barbara. Barbara Hensley listened to all of them. So that's my email, my home phone number. Again, email's faster, but I'm available until I go to heaven, and then I'm not.
Okay, good. And that'll be a very long time. Now,
we don't know.
No, it's going to be a very long time. We've
they asked my pastor, or Larry King asked him, what do we learn about 9/11 and all those people dying, 5,000 people? And he goes, we learned that we all die. We just don't know when. So I'm happy. If I go home, I'll be away from sin, namely my own, but yours and everybody's. So
the thing is, I always ask my guests for their famous last words, what they'd like to say to the audience that's going to see them in 60 years on this YouTube channel. But I think you gave us.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I have no legacy. It would be so long.
I think the people that you touched and that you helped and that you changed, aside from your talent and your work and everything else, the people that you have helped, the way I thought to reach out to you on this call was that she won't mind me saying this. If she does, I'll see her face and I'll feel really bad. But we were on a call, and Anna Marie Palazzo. She was on the call with us.
No, she's Palazzo. Isn't that Palazzo? Nod your head or not.
I realized I've never actually had to say it out loud. So she was on the call.
I know. And she's in New Jersey. And
the way she talked, she just briefly mentioned that she had trained with you, and you could see it. You could just see it. And then after I found out that you were going to be on the call, everyone that knew you, it was the same thing. It was, we love Pat. Pat's the gratitude people feel. And I think what you give back in this world counts for so much.
Well, I was taught in such a mean way at Cornell. It was horrible, horrible way. And I thought, I'll never teach that way. And I've never pulled a punch with Anna Marie or any student. But I don't see, when a teacher gets terse, it's about the teaching, not the learning.
Yeah.
Because our biggest enemy, Danny, no matter who they are, is fear.
Yeah. Why
would we create fear when we're trying to teach someone? It doesn't make sense.
And it freezes you as an actor.
Totally. You can't do it. You're lucky to remember the lines. Yeah. So when you're taught, you should be taught gently and directly and straightforwardly. I never admonish anyone, even when they do something really stupid. I don't go, that was stupid, do it again. I'll just say,
we have to be brave, huh? We have to jump into everything and
aren't we our greatest critics anyway? Don't we have fear? I mean, I was once going down Barmway in LA, which you're familiar with.
Yeah.
In the valley from Cahuenga to into Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Now, I had been recommended and I've been sought after to do the Lego movie. And they wanted me to do silly little sounds like a kid, those kind of sounds. Like what you learn in fourth grade, or I did.
Yeah.
They didn't even call for voices. It was me to do silly sounds and be paid at Warner Brothers. And I heard in my mind, yeah, but what if you can't do it today? And I went, okay, what are the odds? If I can get a level out of that voice, oh no, I just will. Okay, then shut up. Say something, that's beneficial before, during, or after, but that's it.
That's the itty bitty shitty committee in your head.
Totally. And I've got it every time in spades. And it was even laughable when I'm going, are you kidding me? They want me to go, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a teacher must never shine a student on. That's worse. That's worse. Oh, you're good, honey. No, really. Next.
Yeah.
No.
Because they're left right where they are.
But you don't have to be mean.
Yeah. Okay. So there were so many wonderful comments and people expressing their love for you. And I'm going to send you the chat comments as well after the call.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It has been an honor, and I'm definitely going to be in touch.
Anytime, Danny. Thank you, Anna Marie. Anytime. I'm free and open for it. It's easy for me to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat Fraley. You're wonderful.
You bet.
And thank you, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks, you, Barbara, Nancy, for the quirky questions.
Barbara, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Scott, for joining. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yes, Sonny, I'll talk to you. Okay. We're doing a home study course, but I think we're going to have to do it Zoom-wise. I can't get in studios. There's no way.
Zoom is wonderful.
Well, everyone's got an opinion, but I just love to be in the same room with Scott so I can say, do it better and watch him cry with laughter. Because I don't think many people say that to him, but
do better on Zoom and then record it. That way he can keep hearing it over and over and over.
Yeah, well, I don't want him to hate me. But the funny part is that when we go out to breakfast, I got to tell you, we could order for each other because we have the same thing every single time.
Love that.
And or tequilas, which is up the street. He gets the same thing every time. We're so boring.
I love that. I love best mates.
We are.
I love that.
Everything but sex. And that's not allowed. I'm not interested.
Well, that's probably for the best.
It is for the best. Totally for the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat Fraley. Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful.
So long for now. Claudia, again, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.